Well, we are back. And let's immediately kick off with Rashid's question about PPC. He's quite a keen holder of PPC. Now, I can remember he asked me about PPC many months ago, and he said to me, listen, Frans, I want to buy PPC for my grandchild. And I dropped him an email. I said, listen, maybe if you've got a few rand to spare, buy it. But remember, don't just put everything into it. Well, he bought PPC around 50 cents. I think he got some of them, he said at 46 cents or whatever. It doesn't matter. If I look at PPC, and this is a weekly chart, and the reason why I'm looking at the weekly chart, Rashid, because if you buy it for your granddaughter, then you must hold it for a few years. Then you mustn't be too keen to sell it. Then you must say, okay, I'm going to hold on to it. Now, if I look at this, Rashid, it looks like we've got a turnaround in PPC. Now, PPC, of course, is one of those counters that was for long one of the dogs of the market. Now, let's just have a look here. If you look at this chart, look at that. Just in 2018, the share was 9 rand, and it dropped all the way to this 47 cents. I think the low was actually 42 cents, but it doesn't matter. If I look at this chart, there's something interesting developing here, and that is the following. Let's have a look here. There I'm seeing what you call a low, a higher low, a higher low, and we are on the brink of another higher high. There's a very important resistance line here that you need to look at. And that line sits there. There you are. Almost an horizontal line. And some people will say, but this is also a head and shoulder. Yes, if you do that. Yes, it can be an inverse head and shoulder. There you are. Now, we're just below this neckline. But I've got an idea that PPC is going to fight around this 1.50 level for quite a while. And then when it makes up its mind and it turns 150 into a support, things can turn around. But for me personally, if you are a long-term investor, I will say, let's look at that horizontal line, and that will be at 168. I want to add something else here. I just want to add the 40-week moving average here. And just see how that is performing. Let's just have a look here. Let's just go there. Just want to put in a 40-week moving average, because that's now for the long term. And there you are. You can also see that the 40-week moving average was for quite a while a strong resistance. The share could not go above this line. But what happened recently, in November, with all the bad news around PPC, PPC started to move above this 40-week moving average, and that will be positive. So Rashid, if you want to buy PPC, I will add on to that above 170. Where will I put my stop loss? Because you are a long-term investor, I will put it at 122, and maybe above this, it can maybe all these resistances, 195, 2 rand, 209, even 224, and there's another strong one, 255. I mean, you're keeping and holding on the share for quite a while. Just stick to that stop loss if things turn to be nasty. Otherwise, just hang on to it. Well, Kwesi asked about Sasol. Let's have a look at Sasol. Let's have a look at Sasol. Well, by the way, this company, Sasol, surprised with some good results the other day. And if I look at Sasol here, and I know there was a lot of doom and gloom people around Sasol many months ago, but it looks like Sasol wants to move higher. Look what happens here. In November last year, the share was as low as 71.22. But since then, look what happens. There's some buyers coming in, it sells off a bit. There's some buyers coming in, there's a bit of selling. There's buyers coming in, some selling. But in the meantime, it goes higher and higher and higher. And if I look at this trend line, and this is the important one, this trend line tells you, doesn't matter who's saying what, while Sasol is above this line, the trend is to the top. And we're on the brink of giving us a new high. Let's just have a look here. And remember, the oil price is also ticking higher. There you are. If Sasol can break above this line, and there's the level above 175.45, Sasol can give us another leg to the upside. So I like the stock. I'm worried about those gaps. There's a gap. There's another gap. And that makes me a little bit nervous. Maybe they can close in time to come. But while this gap is open and it's above this trend line, the momentum is to the upside. So if you are a new buyer of Sasol, I will say wait for these gaps to close. This gap is between 159 and 152.54, and this one I'm also going to mention it, 134.20 and 132.99. Either wait for these gaps to close, but if you are a current holder of Sasol, there's no reason of selling it. Only below this trend line you can be nervous, and this trend line will break below the downside if this gap closes, and that will be above 152.54. Then it will change. In the meantime, hold on, and if you are in a good profit and you believe in Sasol, wait for this line to turn into a support, and that is 175.45. Buy again there and use this gap as your stop loss. Well, let's have a look at Harmony. John is very disappointed. He says he's a firm believer in the gold price. He believes that gold stocks must go higher, but Harmony doesn't want to perform. Now, John, if you look at the chart, remember, gold stocks is cyclical, like all commodity counters. When they're in favor, everybody loves them. When they're not in favor and they come under pressure, there's a lot of people that hates them, and then they just sell them. So let's have a look at Harmony here. And this is what's worrying me about Harmony. There's an head and shoulder formation here. There you are. You can see that. There you are. Remember, this is on the daily chart, and usually gold stocks are not held for long term. It's held on for trading purposes. Let's have a look here. And there's the head, the neckline. Let's just extend that so that we can get a target here. There you are. There's the left shoulder. There's the ugly head. And here's the right shoulder. And we're on the brink of turning this right shoulder, this neckline that sits here at 64.50 into a resistance, to start this ugly head and shoulder to play out. Now let's just have a look at it. Let's just go a little bit back. And you see what happens here with a commodity stock. When it comes into favor, it can rally all the way to the upside and make everybody happy. If it comes under pressure, it's a sell-off. And look what happens. In July, well, let's call it June 2020, the stock was almost at these levels, and then it started to rally. Now, if you use this line of this target, here, it takes it back almost all the way to that June level price. So that tells you, say for instance, you are a firm believer in the gold price, and you just say gold stocks and mining companies must go higher. Look what happened here. You hold the stock on, let's say, from June last year. It went up all the way from 52 Rand to 125. You did not lock in your profit. You just said to yourself, listen, I want to keep the stock and hang on to it. I don't want to sell it. I'm a believer that it can go higher. What happens? It started to sell off. And now it's almost at the place where you bought it. So the important thing with gold stocks, and with any stock, by the way, if you are not a long-term investor, and you say to yourself, I'm happy with the profit, that's the important thing. You can never go broke by taking a profit, but you can go broke by hanging on to a stock, and eventually it falls below your buying price, and then you believe, whoa, it can go lower. Look what happens here. Let's just have a look here. If it drops below this line, there's a little gap still open there, and it can take it all the way back to this 49 level. And where's this gap? This gap is between 50 Rand 16 and 48 Rand 77. So, really, I hope it doesn't close that gap, but it just shows you, if you're happy with your profit, lock it in and go. Well, let's have a look at Rengro. Nelson wants to buy Rengro, and he says it's a solid company, and I'm also a keen believer that the Rengro and the Rupert family it's not a bad company to invest in. And this old favorite of the market is hanging on here for quite a long time. And if you look at this, what does it tell you? It tells you that the share price trying to find its feet. But there's something else. It is also at this crucial 100 Rand, this, you can almost say, psychological level. What do I see? I see a low, a higher low, a higher low, but most importantly, it's back at this very firm old 200-day or 40-week moving average. It's playing with this support. And for me then, Nelson, if I look at this chart, I will say to myself, if you a buyer of Rengro, wait for this 100 Rand to turn into support. It's a little bit above 100, and I will tell you now where's that level. That level sits at 102.30. Now, if 102.30 turns into a support, suddenly the old favorite of Rengro can turn into a support, and it can eventually go up. Now, for me personally, I say, there's so many stocks that had wonderful rallies, and they're almost at the top, and nobody believes that they can drop. I will rather, if I want to invest in this market at the moment, look at counters that is struggling to find its feet, but making higher lows. It's maybe conservative companies. The business models are maybe not that great for you, and they are not cyclical, but at least they're solid companies. They've got a lot of cash on their hands, and they can look out for opportunities. Because if you look at a company like this, if it starts to go, it's a solid company that can make higher lows all the way to the top. And by the way, they are cash flush, they pay a dividend, they've got good management, and yes, they are under pressure, but this chart tells me that they can go higher. But let's just give you, Nelson, a stop loss. If we are wrong, stop loss level will be, there you are, 92.84 Rand. If 92.84 Rand turn into a resistance, then you must know that even the big counters like Rengro can even go a bit lower. Well, thank you for watching the show. Thank you for inviting us in your house. Well, visit our website, www.fransdeklerk.com. Until next time.